I went to one at the LA Sports Arena, and when we were coming out, there was a bunch of commotion. People used to go in the back to take pictures and stuff of the guys leaving, and I saw Big John Studd, and I was hooked at that point. I went there, and I was sitting in the crowd, and because I was so tall, people kept looking at me to see if I was making a run-in, and I was like, I'm just watching the show. Like, I wanted to be a coach, and so I wanted to coach football and basketball, and I wanted to teach like PE and history. And a fight had broken out between Snoop's security and the London police, I believe. A fight broke out with two really tiny guys that were fighting over a chick who had left them already. Like, they both were trying to dance with her, and she walked off on them. So I don't even know why they were fighting. It was like, bruh, she's gone. And I was like, look, man, I ain't gonna kick you out. Just go do your thing. And as I turned, one of the dudes hit me and like, you just hit me? You know, and he was like, you know, something about you. I don't know what it is, but and he gave his, like, yeah, I'd like to work with him. So that was cool. And then John Laurinaitis said, you know, lose 50 pounds and we'll sign you. So, but then I wanted to give notice with Snoop, and I wanted to give notice at my, you know, because at the time during the day I worked at 5 Acres, and I was a substitute teaching, doing recreation therapy there. So I had, like, you know, I had roots in Los Angeles, so I had to make, you know, arrangements, so they gave me time. The first time I read something online, I thought it was like a Sports Illustrated thing. Right. And they said I was worse than Kali and somebody else combined. And I was like, this is syndicated press writing this stuff? They're like, no, it's some fan that booed you. I was like, what? He always won the argument. It didn't matter what it was, he always won the argument. In a business, we always hear about guys are cutthroat and other things. They weren't, you know. Yeah. And they taught me a lot, so I'm always grateful. And I had him good, and then he found some way to get his thumb up here and did something, and my eyelashes got stuck underneath my eyelid. But I do know if I didn't like something, I said something. Coach said, you're on the road this weekend. I was like, hey, you're on the road this weekend. Like, this guy, like, you're on the road. Had 3 matches. Right. And he's like, you're on the road. And we got lost my first house show, and I literally got there with, I think we were the second match, and I literally got there 5 minutes before the show, so I was ready to die. Like, Scotty was like, you know, he'll work with me, but he had some injuries and stuff, and I don't think I helped matters. But the good thing was, I met a lot of guys who were like Chavo and Booker T, and you know, and like Benoit was great, you know, and then I know that's kind of a. But he was one of those guys that was like, in Batista, there was guys up there that were like really friendly and solid, and Kane, working TJ Wilson, and, you know, Harry Smith, and you know, Sonny Siaki and Eric and Afa, Swagger, like working on those guys, Kofi, and then moving over working Ted DiBiase Jr. And it was right around that time that it started to become fun. It was less like, I don't want to make a mistake, right? Then more like, I'm having fun. And Bucci was very like hands-on. He would call you quite a bit after a match. He'd watch a lot of your stuff and give you feedback. And then of course, Bill watched everything from the way you stood. Like you're looking forward, you're leaning down. Stop coming down to that. Even to this day, like my last few days, a good match. But look at your head. Get your head up. And Jody Hamilton would pick apart everything, you know. And then when Dr. Tom came in, it was the same thing. And Dr. Tom was real big about like presence and psychology. And we were announcers together at practice. The two of us would sit and watch the other matches. I'd be Gorilla Monsoon, and he would be Jesse the Body Ventura, and we would do matches. Even to the point one time that I remember Zeke yelled up from the ring, "Stop!" With Snoop. With Snoop? Yeah, we were coming off tour with Australia, and he said he had to go to Raw for Jacksonville for Raw, and I was like, I'm switching out. And he was didn't want to go? No, hell no. I got fired. Right. I think he's killing it in TNA, you know, and I see him, every time I see him, like, I watch just to see him. Right. You know? And when he was out there, was it last week before last, with Rhino and Dreamer, like, I wanted to run in and beat those guys up with them. Like, I was like, man, I have to come get your back. But I was kind of bummed out because I thought, you know, with my legacy as a legit bodyguard and TJ and I's relationship, that me and him together would have been a good thing. I realized that NXT, we get to write, produce, and do our own thing every week. Oh, this is on because I'm not going to get a chance to talk otherwise. Ricardo, in my opinion, could be the next Paul Heyman as far as management goes. I compare him a lot to Fandango, to like our version of Ravishing Rick Rude. Like, he just gets that, you know, the guys kind of hate him, the chicks dig him. You know? At one of the house shows, he's like, hey, you look like you belong. And that was important to me, you know, because Edge and Christian are synonymous with what it's great to be in, you know, wrestling, and ADR was the same way. So I just remember taking that 1 second just to look at all, and I just remember saying to myself, no matter what happens, you got this. Yeah, I got busted open. I didn't realize that I bled that much. But it looked, I remember saw some of the pictures like somebody got shot in the head. But we got in the back, and American Dream came in there, and he's like, "Man, you ready to run to the Omni? Because we used to do this every night."
Yeah.
So for me, that was cool. And, the American Dream put it over and made the boss laugh, and he laughed pretty damn hard apparently. And that guy is funny. Are you sure we need to make him a monster if he can make people laugh like that? He just said that when lights hit you, you smell the popcorn. He's always like Yoda, you know what I'm saying? He never speaks, and he just gives you, like, he paints the picture for you. I'm like, just tell me what to do. He's like, I'm not going to tell you what to do. You got to find it. And then he's like, let's just play some music and mess around. And me and him were like dancing around the arena, just feeling it. And part of me that had been spending so many hours working on sheeplexing people and beating people up, and all the time that me and Double A spent together, and all that body of work with ADR and stuff kind of coming to this is my opportunity. So there was, I had just on both sides of it, and I was like, but then you got to look at this opportunity, and this is something different, something that hasn't been done in a long time. So eventually I embraced it, and it was one of those things where at first they were so shocked, and we actually pulled something off. They didn't expect it. There was a few guys that were dressed like Planet X juggernaut Brodus Clay, and he had his head shaved and had his shirt cut like mine, and we came out, and he was, and normally I always kind of scan the crowd, but this guy and me, we just locked eyes as I was coming, and he was just, his mouth was, and just looking at me like, no. And then after that, it was kind of like, it was just a big buzz. And I remember Triple H was like, do not look on the internet. I'm like, man, I don't care about it. Let him go to town. I don't care. One of the stories I got from the Ultimate Warrior before he passed was, he's like, he used to tell me to smile all the time. And I'd be like, yes, I'm not the only one. He's like, I'm the warrior. I don't smile. But they literally like I was going to get cut. And the girls were getting really nervous. And then Cena was like, I got to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, looking at him, he's like, what do I gotta go to the bathroom, what, about eight minutes, bros? I'm like, that's the one thing I hadn't had at WrestleMania was an actual match, and that was my opportunity, and I was extremely stoked about it. And I did a lot of media for it, and there was a lot of hype built up for it, and I was just ready, and I was really excited. And to the office's credit, to the boss's credit, to Triple H's credit, they did everything they could to try to get out there, and they held on to the last possible minute. Maybe we could have done a better job of portraying it or whatever, but I'm not really big on the blame game. I just know that the situation didn't work out, and my attitude didn't help because I was really frustrated and just confused.
Who did you go up and talk to?
And at that point, I didn't really talk to anybody anymore. Just
was that a mistake, or?
Yeah, I mean, you got to be able to communicate. Once the line of communications die, that's never a good thing. And a writer was hitting me with feedback, and I had some bad luck with writers. Like, I'd get with a writer, we start getting some stuff, and you get fired. So that was happening a lot. There was one writer, I spent 3 hours with him, we came up with all this great stuff, and the next week I was looking for him, he was gone. So I was just like, I can't catch a damn break. Okay, you're always afraid to take that leap on what's on the other side. But you've been talking about doing it for 3 months now. So it happened. So what are you going to do? Like, that was the fear. Because right after I saw The Cove, I followed Lincoln looking for his dad. He was the one, because that scene in The Cove when he walked in with the TV, I was like, that dude's a boss, and I got his back. And I sent him a tweet, and he responded, and then we messaged, and then we actually met for lunch. So when TMZ called me, they're like, what are you going to do now you got fired? And they're kind of being dicks. And I was like, I'm going to go process dolphins in Japan if you guys need me. So, and Swoggle telling me the wrong city. And I was like, what's up, Birmingham? We were in Newcastle. So that's the part of the business that's like is frustrating, because you never know, like, in terms of like what your contract says and things like that. And your merchandise stuff and like video game checks and things like that. Like, for a lot of the guys, that's, you pay your taxes and you do things like that, and those monies, although you should never count money that's not there, it's kind of expected. So I'm not done, and I got some new things coming out, and some of my fans that still stick with me on Twitter, Monstrous BC at Brodus Clay, I appreciate the support.